So when you think about who's illegally crossing the border, Mexicans, El Salvadorans, Guatemalans, Central and South Americans come to mind. True, but that's only part of the story. Increasingly, it's military-age men from enemy countries like China. Why is this happening, and why is our government not more concerned? Gordon Chang is the author of several books, including China is Going to War, and Michael Pillsbury, Senior Fellow for China Strategy at the Heritage Foundation. Both of them join us, and he's also the author of the 100-Year Marathon, China's Secret Strategy to Replace America as the Global Superpower. So listen to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, his comments on illegal migrants coming from China.
With respect to the people from Central Asia, we have no evidence that they are individuals plotting to harm the United States. That is inaccurate.
That is inaccurate. All right, well, China is part of Central Asia, and there were, I don't know, very well could be people here right now trying to plan another terrorist attack. So, Gordon, what's your reaction, first of all, to Mayorkas there, and why are we seeing an influx of Chinese nationals sneaking into our country?
If we go back a couple of years, Rob, we were seeing primarily family groups from China. In other words, people who are desperate to live in a free society. But as you just pointed out, Border Patrol now says about 80% of the Chinese migrants are single males, military age, traveling without family members, and Border Patrol knows that some of them have links to the Chinese military. We know that they've been trying to penetrate U.S. military bases once they get into our country. They're engaging in other disturbing activity. And some of them are just poor victims who are now being forced to work in slave labor conditions on illegal marijuana grows, all the way from New Mexico to Oklahoma to Maine. So really, this is disturbing. Even the ones who are not here to attack the United States, they are fueling crime.
So, Michael, I mean, shouldn't this be a big five-alarm warning that unvetted Chinese and Middle Eastern men are here illegally and lurking somewhere, planning or doing God knows what?
Well, yes, it should be a warning, but the larger context that Gordon's referring to is the last 2 or 3 years, there have been a lot of alarms sounded about China, and nothing happens. The House Republicans have kind of entertainment hearings. The Biden administration refuses to answer. And for me, one of the most alarming cries that was put out was by Gordon himself, an article that's still online, that mice, about 700 mice near Fresno, California, had been weaponized with Ebola, and that there's a Chinese general who says that this kind of thing is to exterminate the people of the Western United States. All that is online. What bigger warning can you have that Ebola weaponized mice are coming toward the Western United States? And yet there is no reaction. The House sent one investigator out to the place in Fresno to look at it, played it down. The Biden administration had done nothing to say at all. This is an early warning of a huge sort of American massacre, and the word exterminate is used by the Chinese general, yet there's no response. So even lesser warnings, like military-age men are coming across the border, this is just par for the course. They're simply ignored. The lucky thing for Biden in the debate was that CNN did not bring up China. The only discussion of China was a little bit about the differences in the size of the tariffs that either candidate would put on China. But CNN was helping Biden by not bringing up China. If they'd mentioned the word China as a question, obviously by the laptop, by Hunter, all these things could have been brought up by Mr. Trump. I think he's prepared to talk about China, but CNN really helped Mr. Biden by not mentioning China. It's quite shocking.
Well, they didn't mention China because the answer would have been, "I'll have beef and broccoli." I mean, that's where he is these days. Gordon, from what we've seen, China's actions. Why do you say, by the way, that China wants to go to war? Why are they getting more aggressive, and why do you say that? Because that's a frightening prospect.
Yeah, we don't know if Xi Jinping has made the decision to go to war, but we do know, Rob, that he has made the decision to risk war, because he's risking war in various places, especially in the South China Sea. And I think the reason is because he's got so many problems at home, and because he's grabbed all his power, he has total accountability. I think that a foreign clash would actually prevent other senior Chinese leaders from removing him. There is some hint of political instability at the top of the Communist Party. So I think that Xi Jinping believes that some foreign misadventure is going to save his position in the Chinese Communist Party. Right now, China is a mess. The economy is failing. It's got so many other problems. It's got simultaneous crises that Xi Jinping has no answer for.
I want an answer to this because it's a little frightening. And Michael, why are China-backed companies affiliated with the CCP? Why are they buying up farmland around U.S. military bases, and nobody is sounding the alarms on that?
Well, a few congressmen introduced legislation to try to ban.
And it went nowhere.
Chinese.
Why? I mean, that should be like unanimous.
It went. That's right, exactly right. It went nowhere. It's part of my thesis that there is a policy paralysis on China in the Congress as well as the White House. Only Donald Trump really had the answer of trying to take specific steps, real policy measures that would hold China to account. This farmland purchase is really becoming a scandal that there's no U.S. response to it, other than a few pieces of legislation that, as you point out, is usually 4 members of Congress will be co-sponsors. So there's a long list of things we're not taking action on about China, but a lot of it can be laid at the feet of Congress and congressional Republicans in the House. The Select Committee on China was supposed to revolutionize everything. Then it was announced they would have no power to introduce legislation at all. They can only have hearings and issue reports, which is a good thing, but it's not action.
Michael Pillsbury, Gordon Chang, all things China. You guys are great. Thanks again.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, guys.